I think the importance of empathy for young children is that it helps create the adults of tomorrow. As cheesy as that might sound, we're creating, not creating, but we're helping to nurture the next generation. And by teaching them young that they should have concern for others, for other people in different situations, and for people in their, as well as people in their situations, we're helping them to grow up to be well-rounded individuals that will respect the wider community. I think reading helps children develop their empathy skills because it really is a slice out of time. It's an opportunity for anyone to enter into another world where they can really imagine and take part in a different life. And so if they're reading about people like themselves or different from themselves, they inhabit their shoes. And so you can't help but feel empathetic towards those characters. So I think reading holds a very special place, more so even than kind of computer games or films or TV, all of which have their place. But reading is kind of one of the rare mediums that enables us to inhabit our imagination. Well, I kind of inject empathy into poetry by starting first and foremost with myself and what I've experienced and with my memory and with my experiences, because I find by grounding writing in an element of truth, in a lived experience, then you automatically make the writing stronger. You give it more context, you give it more colour, more texture. And hopefully that translates to the readers. They recognise that there is truth in what it is that you're writing, be it characters, be it a line of poetry, be it a description, and so are able to more easily enter into the world that you're offering them. My poems in Overheard in a Tower Block definitely started from a place of truth and were hugely inspired by my own upbringing. It's not exactly my upbringing, but I wanted to write something personal that I knew about, but then to broaden it so that it could appeal to as wide an audience as possible. I'd heard a statistic that over 50% of families are what you would call kind of non-traditional. They're not 2.4 kids, you know, mum, dad, brother, sister. And I felt it was a shame that so many families don't get seen in books, in the media, and so I wanted to write about a family going through difficult times, about a family that is breaking up, but showing that whole process. So we follow a little boy growing up and becoming a man to show young people that, yeah, bad times, difficult times, challenging times do occur, but you come out the other side. I think it's so important to learn that resilience through books, through reading, and in my case through poetry. I've had lots of experiences where young people have come up to me after a reading of some of my poems from Overheard in a Tower Block and have kind of just volunteered that they live in a single parent family, and it's just been very matter of fact, and that's been really lovely because it's just been a moment of recognition and teachers just recognising, oh, we've got a shared experience. And I wish I had that when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, my family situation, being in a single parent family, was a source of shame and embarrassment. Whereas what I hope, and what I try to do for my work is just let young people know that there are lots of different families, and that it doesn't have to be a source of shame. It's just fact. It's just life, and that doesn't mean that there's not love in different types of families. My local library was hugely important to me when growing up. I was very lucky in that we always lived near a library. So I grew up in Roehampton, and in Roehampton there was a library sort of down the road that my mum would take me to on a regular basis. But then when we moved again to Wandsworth, there was a library next door, and it was literally a stone's throw away. So I could go and study, do my homework, I'd go in there with friends. We sometimes probably would mess about and got told off, quite rightly so. But the library became an extension of our world. So we would play out, We would, go and sort of play run-outs and kind of various games with tennis balls and things. But the library became part of our world, somewhere where we could go and we could sit down and talk and discuss and find books and find common interests. So the library was hugely important to me. My library actually was doing a summer reading scheme, even though this was many, many years ago. But they were doing their own sort of independent summer reading scheme, and that got me reading. I remember getting my tokens and moving them along the board, and I think I read about 6 Roald Dahl books over 6 weeks. I was extremely proud. My library was hugely important. As I've been touring around libraries for my library marathon, where I'm trying to join 207 libraries across the UK, I've been very lucky in that just the other day I came across a library. This was Hull Central Library. I was running in to join just before the library closed, and there were librarians in the children's section putting up Empathy Day posters. And they were putting up the posters with the Empathy Day list of books to read for empathy. And so I shouted at them, stop, stop, stop. Can I get a photo of you putting up the posters? And then had to sort of quietly describe who I was and why I was calling at them from across the library hall. But yeah, I managed to get posters of them actually stapling the posters up, pictures of them stapling the posters up, which was lovely because it sort of tied everything in together. I want to visit a library in every library authority because of the vital and important work that libraries do, and libraries have featured heavily in my writing, and it was just so lovely to see those two things come together, to see the Empathy Day posters going up in a library I was joining. I think my favourite empathy boosting book, that's so hard. I think for picture books it would be Joy by Corinne Avaris and Isabel Folaf, which is a lovely kind of dive into the empowerment of a young girl who finds that she can make her grandmother feel better. And I think that is such an important message to give young children, the power they have to affect adults for the better. I think it was lovely and hugely empowering. And I also love The Boy in the Tower by Polly Ho Yen, which I think is a brilliant story about a young boy caring for his mother who is unable to leave her home, but in the backdrop of kind of like these giant plants sort of taking over their estate and the world. But it was a real kind of lovely and heart-wrenching insight into many young people's lives who end up taking a caring role for an adult. So I thought that was a fascinating read. I think Empathy Lab is a fantastic, long overdue idea because it gives young people the opportunity to discover worlds beyond their own. And this is not only beneficial in terms of making them kind of act kindly towards others, like that is a fantastic, wonderful thing that we should all be aiming for, but it's also brilliant because it broadens their worlds. It enables them to find out about other people's lives, to find out things that maybe they didn't know before, which is going to have a huge impact on their opportunities and the places they go, the people they talk to. So I think Empathy Lab is just fantastic in so many ways. I think we're only just scratching the surface of the impact that this is going to have long term.